It looked like the WNBA saga, the little run that they had, is now over, as major networks could be pulling segments from the broadcast, and this current CBA agreement is heating up. This is all what the owners wanted.
The WNBA recently received a bombshell that has the potential to completely upend the league. Two of the largest sports networks, ESPN and Fox Sports, are apparently reducing their coverage, and the timing couldn't be worse.
Think about ESPN, Fox, other sports networks. Everybody has took away WNBA segments.
The player who caused the league's largest increase in viewership in decades, Clark, was out the spotlight, has becoming progressively dimmer. The women's basketball era that was once flourishing now appears to be crumbling under its own weight. Fans who tuned in for Clark's electric play have tuned out, leaving networks questioning if the excitement was ever sustainable.
The ratings go down. What happened when the ratings go down? They're back in a sunken place, bro. And guess what happens when they go back in a sunken place? They're not getting no big-time payday.
This latest move feels like a devastating blow to a league already dealing with compensation conflicts, declining ticket sales, and ongoing scandal. However, there is more to the matter than just why Fox and ESPN left. It's what this implies for the WNBA's own future.
Y'all ain't finna get no $1 million contracts. Guess what's gonna happen to the CBA agreement? It's gonna stay the same. You're not getting no extra money. The ratings has dropped 80%. That's what they're gonna say. You know, they're gonna be looking through this. Hey, you know what? The ratings are just, yeah, I'm sorry. So all of that momentum that you guys had about a year and a half ago, it's over. It's over.
There was more to ESPN and Fox Sports' discreet but strategic decision to cut back on WNBA coverage than a simple change in programming. It was a declaration these networks are based on ratings and plots that draw in sponsors and hold viewers' attention for the previous 12 months. That plotline was Clark. Every press conference, highlight video, and record-breaking performance attracted attention to a league that had been struggling for decades to gain widespread recognition.
I'll say a little conspiracy with keeping Clark out, with them playing a factor in her not being there to keep the CBA agreements and pull away the interest from the league. I believe this is a planned attack by the WNBA owners, commissioners, to pull the interest away from the league.
However, the momentum vanished as soon as she suffered an injury, and networks began to question if the investment was worthwhile. This is the unpleasant truth. Loyalty is not the foundation of networks they work with. Numbers. Social media was buzzing. Goods was selling and ratings skyrocketed while Clark was playing. Those metrics plummeted in her absence. The so-called Clark effect turned out to be true, possibly too real. Her presence revealed the WNBA's dependence on a single player rather than uplifting the league as a whole.
This has been a joke, and the WNBA has, in my view, blown its opportunity.
It wasn't just the Indiana Fever that lost when she was out. The entire league was involved. Fans noticed right away. Once trending games on Twitter barely caused a stir. Slots during primetime decreased. The nightly sports presentations lost their highlights. When ESPN officials saw the statistics, they understood its significance. Premium rates were not going to be paid by advertisers to run during games that no one was watching. Fox Sports, which is renowned for its even more ruthless programming, has reached the same conclusion. Why devote valuable airtime to a product that is dependent on Clark for its survival?
To get these set paydays that they garner and they want, bro. In order to do that, you have to have a consistent track record of good ratings, consistent track records of merchandise sales, ticket sales, and all of these things. And I'm telling you right now, next year is going to be a tough year.
The drop-off has become so public that it hurts much more. The WNBA had finally arrived. According to the storyline from just the previous season, there were articles proclaiming a golden age. Players demanded respect and salaries comparable to those in the NBA, and discussions about wage rises erupted. However, one injury has muted all of that chatter. Neither Clark nor the athletes who toiled diligently for decades before her deserve this. However, the network's actions have spoken for them. Without Clark, there would be no league coverage. It has been stated that frustration has escalated into outright rage. Gamers who sought to demonstrate that the game was more popular than one star are now recognizing the system's true vulnerability. Executives and owners are free to spin it however they see fit, but when the two biggest networks in sports essentially pull the plug, it sends a message that the hype train has derailed. This timing couldn't be worse for a league attempting to use popularity to negotiate a better CBA and raise wages.
How many times have you watched WNBA games since Caitlin Clark got hurt? Now think about this. It led our show last summer.
A bunch.
Oh, I think I led with it 6 times. I led with the WNBA. And either way, I talk about what I think is interesting. You notice I didn't talk about it this year?
Yeah.
It's not because I suddenly disliked the league. I thought it was growing. Anybody that wants to argue this, you're off your rocker. Caitlin Clark is the league.
The most significant aspect of this tale, however, goes beyond the fact that Fox and ESPN left it the speed and lack of hesitation with which they completed it. They seem to be waiting for an excuse. However, the damage doesn't stop here, because the network's retreat has allowed detractors to further attack the league.
I don't know what the ratings are. I haven't read them, but I know last year with Caitlin Clark, I would, if the game was on, I would drive home making a point. And when's that game on?
I would watch it on my phone in the car. So
yes.
You could listen, not watch, I'm driving, but you could listen to it in the car.
Fox Sports and ESPN's withdrawal wasn't an isolated incident after months of brewing. It was the predictable outcome of a storm. Furthermore, Caitlin Clark's injuries served as little more than the catalyst for the explosion. You must examine the numbers to see why the media behemoths left so rapidly. When Clark joined the WNBA, the league was experiencing an unparalleled upswing she immediately gained. Professional attention as a result of her college fame. Merchandise sold out, arenas were packed, and ratings doubled. Mainstream media began giving WNBA coverage top priority in their highlight reels for the first time in decades. However, the networks quickly became aware of a problem. The figures weren't distributed evenly. When Clark was injured, they were virtually solely dependent on her appearances. Overnight, the data crumbled. Near-record lows were reached by national programs that had previously attracted respectable audiences. Storylines that had previously been popular on social media vanished from the debate, and local ticket sales stagnated. This wasn't simply a letdown for Fox and ESPN, it was a liability. The WNBA's momentum was based on a single thread, and networks live on momentum. The product ceased to be profitable as soon as that thread broke. Advertisers were abruptly withdrawing their large wagers on Clark's rookie season, unwilling to spend a lot of money on games that failed to draw viewers, which is where the dispute gets more heated. The networks sliced pieces with brutal accuracy. Rather than just making subtle cuts, there was no pre-game coverage. Talk show conversations that had included Clark and her rivals were discontinued entirely, and highlight packages shrank. Players felt the quiet even more after fans recognized it. It served as a harsh reminder to sportsmen who had battled to increase the league's profile that in the absence of one superstar, their platform was still insufficiently strong. Critics contend that this dynamic was created by the league itself. By giving Clark so many promotions, the WNBA made her the blame as well as the hero. She became the league's single point of failure, even though she helped it. Patience is not the business of networks. Their business is making money. They didn't think twice about moving on when profits declined. According to several insiders, ESPN and Fox had been considering an exit strategy all along, pointing to the WNBA's tense relationship with networks over scheduling disputes and broadcast rights. They had the ideal justification. Thanks to Clark's ailment, the consequences are disastrous for the players. Leverage is more important here than airtime alone. Athletes hope to utilize growing ratings as leverage for more compensation. Going into crucial CBA negotiations, their negotiating strength vanishes in the absence of coverage. Additionally, the players' voices get quieter. When networks turn their attention elsewhere, it is nearly tough to restore networks once they have scaled back. Momentum drives sports media, and the WNBA's momentum has reached a stalemate. However, there is more to the story, because it's possible that the owners themselves anticipated this collapse and took advantage of it. There is a much more serious problem behind the headlines about networks discontinuing coverage. For months, insiders have been speculating that owners were preparing for difficult discussions over the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement. Additionally, it's possible that Caitlin Clark's injury gave them unanticipated leverage. Players were getting ready to make a strong push for greater pay, better benefits, and more media attention. As the current CBA was about to expire, they made a straightforward argument. The league at last had evidence of its worth thanks to rising ratings and Clark's star power, but that leverage quickly disappeared when Fox and ESPN left. Nowadays, owners are in a better position than before. They can use declining interest and declining ratings as an excuse to maintain low compensation rather than feeling compelled to award million-dollar contracts. Some people think this is a planned action rather than a coincidence. This is how the theory works. Owners create a crisis that helps them in negotiations by letting the excitement over Clark wane and neglecting to advertise the other teams in the league. Players are unable to demand high salaries if the league appears weak. It's a cynical yet well-known professional sports playbook. Before choosing how to divide the pie, make it smaller. Fans have already seen indications of this tactic. Marketing campaigns appear to stop virtually as soon as Clark's injury is known, and coverage of rivalry outside of her sphere of influence has been scant. Critics have even charged that Clark's own team, the Indiana Fever, has not done enough to support or elevate her. Theories of conspiracy started to circulate. Was there a covert agreement between the Fever and league management that Clark's absence would help lower expectations before the CBA negotiations began? Even if that assertion might seem over the top, the timing is questionable. The pressure this puts on the players themselves is indisputable. WNBA players have been advocating for equality and respect for years. However, their weakest point has been the absence of regular fan interaction. Owners are aware of this, and the case for salary raises appears to be weaker than ever as networks pull back. Players are now rushing to defend their worth in negotiations rather than entering them with momentum. They didn't imagine that position. Just one season ago, Clark's entrance electrified the league. Now the lockout threat makes things even more tense. There may be a risk to the 2026 season. If an agreement is not reached by October, it's more than just a setback for a league already struggling for existence. It might be disastrous. It is unimaginable for supporters to lose games after years of battling to gain recognition. However, it can be a part of the plan. For owners put players in a difficult situation until they agree to terms that benefit management. Despite how depressing this may sound, the controversy extends beyond the boardroom because the athletes are watching their reputations suffer while the owners may sense an opportunity. Additionally, the media is continuing to spew harsh criticism. The Fever in Indiana, the team led by Clark, has unexpectedly found itself at the epicenter of the controversy. A generational talent and a faltering team looking for significance should have made for a fantastic partnership, but instead, they have become a source of controversy. Some observers and fans think that the WNBA's current state of disarray is partly due to the Fever. However, subtly, their management of Clark's playing time, injuries, and public persona has stoked rumors that the company was not just careless, but also complicit in letting her momentum stagnate. The Fever's decisions, according to critics, were never as urgent as Clark's star power, her workload, and the physicality of her opponent's attacks were. Questioned early in the season, the squad appeared happy to let Clark take the brunt of the punishment rather than asking referees to provide additional protection or changing game plans. Her injuries ultimately caused her to leave the floor, leaving spectators to wonder, was this preventable? Some even contend that Clark's absence was advantageous to the league and team in secret, since it served to divert attention from growing demands in the impending CBA dispute. This notion may seem far-fetched at first glance, but to irate fans, the connections lead to Italy. After all, the Fever have long been among the worst-run teams in the league. Clark was their golden ticket because of their struggle to keep talent and their lack of postseason success. However, they have been charged for mishandling her ascension rather than establishing a solid framework around her. These suspicions were heightened on social media as supporters noted how little the team appeared to defend Clark from rivals. Aggressive, almost filthy attacks. This is where things become even more complicated. The Fever would have to forego their own immediate success in order to safeguard the owner's long-term goals if they truly adopted the league's broader approach of stifling excitement. Fans enjoy debating conspiracies like that, and it has only made the WNBA's credibility issue worse. Trust erodes when viewers start to wonder if results are being manipulated, and once lost, it's almost tough to regain.